if you can read, I'll give you like $5 million. Come, prove it.
Long ago, when children in our villages sat around the fire and heard their elders tell stories about culture, hunting and was ruled by the South.
Oh, yeah, that's like the bad part. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just saw this book when I was outside, and I was like, whoa, like a children's book about Sam Yoma. Can you believe that? Like, how do you talk about all those bad things and make it nice for children? I'm reading this, and it's really cool. And then I saw the name, and I looked at the program, and I saw the name, looked at the program, and the person who wrote this book is the founder of the Namibia Book Fair. She's here to tell us what it's about. Elvi Itenge.
Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's here today. And I'm so surprised that this room is full. When we first walked in here, Aini was telling me, oh no, this room is it's too small. It will not fit everyone. We need to go outside. And I said, no, Aini, relax. The people, they'll be like, maybe half. Because based on my past experience, that a lot of events we are doing based on the books, we have less people. But I have to say, really, I'm impressed. And you have to give yourself a round of applause for it. Okay, so I just have to say, unfortunately, I don't know everybody who's invited, so I just want to say everybody welcome. And I hope after the event we all network outside. I'm really excited and I'm really humbled to be here and to celebrate with you the 4th Namibia Book Fair. The 4th Namibia Book Fair was officially opened yesterday at NAST. And we had a lot of activities there. And the Namibia Book Fair was established by Advocacy Education Foundation. And we are so happy and lucky that it's supported by the Ministry of Education, Arts and Cultural since 2012. But the reason why is the 4th book fair, because we cannot run it every year because of lack of funding, and we also don't have enough volunteers. So how did this Namibia Book Fair start? I remember when I returned home in 2010. That time I only written 4 books, 2 in Swahili, in Wanyama, which is in Namwenyo, and Babyface Kiswahili. And I was so excited to come and exhibit my books at an event which celebrates authors and publishers. I have attended other book fairs like Nairobi Book Fairs, and I was so excited and determined, and I was looking forward to that. And then I spoke to my uncle, Mr. Ambrosius Amtenya. He's also an author of Mrs. Kangaroo Visit Namibia, also published by Becca Children Media. And he said, no, Helvi, there's no such an event. I'm like, no. We also have NAMA for the musician, we have a lot of events, we have a Motiva Trade Fair. How come there's no such a thing? And he encouraged me to start the Namibia Book Fair. And at first, I thought it was impossible. And I remember going to the Ministry of Education, and I did not find the minister, our late Minister of Education, Dr. Iyambo. So he was not, at the time, he was not in the office, and he dedicated the letter, or he sent the letter to somebody else. And there was some of the people were really discouraging. I remember one lady in particular, I'm not going to say their name, she said, a book fair is something over your head. You cannot do it. And then I said, that's why I'm at the Ministry of Education. And with a friend, we went to Goethe Institute and FNCC. And luckily they said, no, we'll hold your hands and we'll do this event. That's how we started the first Namibia Book Fair in 2012. But there were a lot of people who were supportive in the Ministry of Education. and they came on board. Even when we had the event at the FNCC that year, they were there. If I can show the images, if you can check our website, you'll be able to see the stand of the National Library was actually the main, wonderful, decorated, and it was lovely. They had a lot of activities for the young ones. And I'll have to also thank the people who have been part of this event, helping to organize. We also have people from UNAM, and we have people from Namibia University of Science and Technology. And this year, Namibia University of Science and Technology, NAST, really helped us to really make this event a success. Especially yesterday, we had, I think, over like 400 learners. But I'll have to say, I'm very disappointed. Most our parents didn't come, a lot of adults didn't come, and our publishers were there. Our authors, our Namibian authors, our publishers, they were there, but we didn't have an audience. Only the learners came for the learners' activities. Before I forgot, I got a call yesterday. There were some of the people who traveled, and I did not get a chance to see each and everybody. So I would just like to say, anybody who traveled from outside, first let me start from here. Anyone from Windhoek? Welcome. Come yourself. Anyone from Okahanja? Anyone outside Windhoek who traveled? Wow. I'm still struggling because of the foundation. The foundation is really important. So I really put efforts, and I wanted not to give only the opportunity to my children, but I also wanted to make sure that the Namibian children also, and young people also have the similar opportunity or the same opportunity as my children. Because I'm seeing the result that if you read to your children, the children will not struggle like we struggle. So I would just like to say thank you for coming, and thank you for making this event a success. And I would like to leave you with this, the following. Promoting the culture of reading must be every Namibian's business. Every time you and your child are invited to a birthday party, I challenge you to include a book as a gift. A toy will eventually be discarded, and shoes might not even fit. However, a book will forever grace the bookshelf. Books are the best gifts we can give to anyone. If you are reading a page every night, please keep it up. Who's reading every night? Wow, we have readers here. But if you are not reading, please start today. I thank you.
So the first person who's going to come into a PowerPoint presentation, her first name is a flower. Her surname is Ekala. Ladies and gentlemen, Daisy Silva, the founder of UCAN.
My name is Daisy Silva, and UCAN is our, for lack of better word, our baby. The team, some of the team members are here. Firstly, Abigail Munalula and Timothy Mulandu, and of course, my lovely editor, Ms. Kaylee DeSouza. Now, you're wondering, UCAN, and it truly is self-explanatory. The project started out because people have to be encouraged, and that leads me to my disclaimer. You will be encouraged. In the beginning, which was the beginning of this year, I spoke to Kaylee and I told her I have this idea, and I want to encourage people in a way that can actually help them, not just to get you, you know, how the youth say, hyped up and then not learn anything, but I really want everyone to learn something so that they can not only live empowered, but also empower other people. So this is where these people come in. I don't know if you can actually see all these people, but the book, UCAN, is a compilation of different stories. So what I did was I interviewed a couple of people and I asked them about a tough season in their life and a breakthrough. So it ranges from failing grade 12 and having to repeat it 3 times to losing a child to cancerous brain tumor. And right in between those two lines, the one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, is other stories. And the reason why this is so important to me as well as for my team is whenever someone is in a tough season, whenever someone is having a hard time, they stay in a position where they get comfortable with despair, they get comfortable with sadness, and sometimes they get comfortable with less than. A lot of people, when they're going through something tough, for example, when you have to face your family, especially with our culture, if you fail grade 12, you go to NAMCO, you fail it again, you go to NAMCO, you fail it again. There's a lot of pressure. One of my interviewees fell pregnant, and again, people will tell her that she just ruined her future. She has no hope. Like, she can't move on. There are other people, like for example him, he's Tim Bucher, and he started Dololo Namibia, and it's an entrepreneurship incubator. So what he does, he takes the entrepreneur by the hand and he walks the entrepreneur from start to finish, from business development to pitch practicing, to actually going over to a bank, like for example the Bank of Namibia, and actually asking for funds. And he does that. And in the beginning, obviously, because of how Namibia is structured, he had a tough time. So the range of stories are very different. There isn't a specific market to this book, because everyone goes through something tough and everyone needs to know that they can. That's why the book is titled You Can. So one of my favorite stories is actually of this guy. His name is Kumwe Dumeni, and he's a marketer by profession. But his story did not start out as dazzling as it is right now. He thought he'd never leave grade 12. He just kept doing it over and over again, and he was one of the, I should say, grown-ups in the midst of other small children in grade 12. And that put him in a position of a lot of despair. And now, he actually values that time. He actually values that season taught him how to persevere. That season taught him that he actually can. That despite of what people tell him, despite of what people may insinuate about him, he can actually reach his goals. It's all about the mindset. It really is all about what you think. And then I would like to announce that the book is actually not a physical cover, but it is an ebook. Then we have an audio book, and we have videos in sign language. The audio book is specifically there because not everyone can read and write in Namibia, and because we have blind people. And since we're not printing, especially not in Braille, we want something that they can listen to. And in the videos in sign language are videos in sign language. It's just to cater to give a more holistic approach to the help that we would like to give. And it's free because we, as a team, know how important it is to allow people to know that they actually can. It is also free so that everyone can access it, and so that people can change their mindsets. We're not going to get to where we want to get if we keep our minds small. If we look into the bigger picture as Namibia as a whole, if we don't believe in ourselves, then we're not going to reach our goals. All of that is going to be launched on the 30th of November. Again, my lovely, lovely editor, Ms. Kaylee De Souza. And I would just like to introduce my team to you. It includes me, I'm the author, and then the co-founder, Timothy Mulandu, trying to make everything work. And then Mr. Benjamin Smith, he is the PR and marketing guy. Ms. Kaylee De Souza, she's right there. And then we call him Pewe because I have a hard time saying that name. And then Ms. Abigail, she is sales because in order for us to raise the funds that we need to just run everything, we decided that we're going to sell merchandise. And as you can see, she looks lovely, so she's very good at selling anything to anyone. You talk to her, you might meet her. And then Mr. Prime Shapopi, he is going to help us as we grow this project, because we'd like to continue it, so that, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I did it the wrong way this year without planning out a budget and actually account or looking at everything, all the allocated costs with marketing and banners and everything. But now I have Mr. Prime Shapopi. And last but certainly not least is Ms. Letitia Ida, and she is our content creator for the blog, so that everyone can keep updated. And our last slide are the different, welcome. Our last slide is just where you can find us. Here is the link to the blog, because the website is not up yet, but there is the blog. And then on Instagram, because we have the Facebook and Instagram, but Instagram is a lot more updated, if I can put it that way. And then whenever we interact, we always give our email, because that's always accessible.
But yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Our next person who's gonna come here for a PowerPoint presentation, Ritva Niskala.
Something about the secrets why Finland has become the famous for its reading culture and its best education system of the world, which is not the best, but one of the best anyway. This because personally I don't believe in bringing ideas from another place to another place, especially when they are so far away, and especially because they are so different societies. But of course we have issues which are in common. I mean, for instance, this that Finland was also colonized, although it's in Europe, it was colonized. It was colonized by Sweden on the what is now left-hand side. For 1,000 years, it was just a province of Sweden. For 100 years, it was a province of Russia. Part of this reading culture comes from that history, because in the 17th and 18th century, it became very important in Finland to teach everybody to read. The church took the lead. I mean, you couldn't get married if you couldn't read. Yes. And that's from the 17th, 18th century. And everybody had to go to those church schools so that they could get married. So, I mean, since that, people do know at least the basics of reading. Education has become part of society's key focus areas, because Finland has also gone through many global turndowns, you know. I mean, so many economic crises when everything crashes. And education is believed, and I think it can be proved to be the phenomena that has saved Finland. There has always been, I mean, the education has broadened and it has become more and more flexible. And everybody has the opportunity to be educated. In today's world, I can tell an example of my sister's firstborn, the son. He didn't finish high school. He didn't do the matriculation examination, which is the same as grade 12 examination here. And then he just, lived around, and he managed to somehow survive. And later on, he wanted to become a police officer. Okay, in Finland you can't enter the school for police officers without having the matriculation examination. He actually studied, he had a very good girlfriend also that time. So the girlfriend encouraged him, so he studied through the computer at home, all those courses that he had missed in high school. And then he went to the formal matriculation examinations and he passed. And now he's a police officer. So, but there are many ways to proceed. Okay, I mean, about the differences, as you can see, and something about the reading. As you can see, Finland half of the year is very cold. People just stay inside. Inside is warm anyway. But it's not I think it's something to do with the climate or the weather. I don't know if it's scientific to say so. But that people have grown to be introvert, They don't socialize so much. We also have very small families. People don't socialize with the larger family. And that makes actually a very big difference, you know, in relation to it. Because as you can see, I'm not sure if it's a picture of a former president, but anyway, I mean, in Finland, everybody used to read because there's nothing else to do. I mean, so you are inside, you have to do something. You don't meet so many people. You live in towns, you live in small flats, you don't have your family around you. So you need something to do. So reading became kind of a national phenomena, and people were just reading. And the books were available, of course that was part of it. That because people were reading and because we had a very wide library system, library network since very beginnings. So the libraries were buying the books, so it was worthwhile to publish books. And books were available everywhere. Me too, when I was young, and I mixed up a little bit of my own experiences, I was a total reader. I would just sit home and read and read and read, and there were so many books at home. We got books for birthdays, for the Christmas, every time, you know. And then also there was a library just to walk away, and I would go there. And my mother never got me to do the course at home because I always had the book which needed to be finished. Okay, the times have changed, you know. Now we have TV, now we have IT, and Finland is especially very technologically advanced. And also Finnish educators have become worried about whether anybody's reading anymore. Or actually people are reading. I mean, the truth is that people are reading, but they're reading through the computer, you WhatsApp, etc. It's short text. But everybody's reading anyway. It continues. And you can't manage without reading. You know, now you have to do your banking, everything with the computer. You can't manage that without reading. You have to be able to read. And the society is also getting more complicated. So actually for you to make difference with false news, etc., in Facebook, in internet, etc., you actually have to be very good in reading, because you have to be able to analyze which is false, which is right. So now in Namibia, I keep on hearing that there's no reading culture in Namibia. I differ, and I have a different opinion. I mean, people do read here, but they just read what is important. And also, I mean, people don't read for relaxation because there are other things. You can talk with people, you can go to meet people. You don't read for relaxation, you know? Like in a country like Finland, yes. So, I mean, I have seen, you know, people fighting for newspapers. And everybody is just grabbing the newspaper. You really have to fight for it. And this one, you know, reading your textbooks, I mean, studying, people are very eager to study here to get their masters, to get their PhDs. I mean, people are reading. And they are reading difficult things, otherwise you can't get your masters, your PhDs. So you can't tell me that this is not a reading culture. I have also been a little bit, I was kind of reading a bit more about why would reading be important, I mean, just for this presentation. And I think the main issue there is this one, that we are really coming to a more and more complicated society. And we need to be able to analyze all this information around us. Otherwise we will be fooled by those who give us a lot and ask us to send some money so that, you know, you get this other money back and things like that. We need to be able to analyze and read. And then I also read some scientific studies about the importance of reading a book, because I was already saying, me myself nowadays I don't read books. I only need newspapers and computer and articles when I need to read them for work. I have lost that feeling of reading for relaxation, reading for enjoyment. Except the newspapers, I like to read newspapers. I have been starting to reconsider it, because I read these studies now, just for this presentation, that reading a whole book actually develops your brain capacity, your memory, your analytical skills, because nowadays I relax and enjoy, you know, Netflix and films and movies. But and that is, of course, it gives the part of what the books also give. I mean, you see other worlds, you see other personalities, you have some company of the imaginary people, you know. But they say that if book compared to movies, it has this one that when you read the book, the scenery, the people, everything is kind of explained. You have to imagine it in your mind, and that kind of develops your brains. So I mean, we can think about it. The other issues which have often mentioned, the benefits of reading, personal development, I totally agree to that one. I think my worldview and my kind of, I would say, flexibility in relation to accepting different kinds of ways of thinking has come from books, which I started reading as a young person. You know, you see so many personalities, so many worlds, that you understand that yours cannot be the only right one. But that one you can also get a lot of it in movies. Okay, knowledge and mental simulation. Okay, this one of course is true. I mean, you get deeper when you need to. If you don't just pick up the little fact, but you get the books which has more complexities about how this phenomenon actually is. It's not so simple as that. Of course, then it develops your knowledge levels and your analytical skills. Okay, like I said, relaxation, stress reduction, many people do that with books. I did, but nowadays I'm not. But I mean, this is what I say is we are different and we also go through different phases. Okay, because I was asked to tell about something about the secrets, what brought Finland to a reading culture. I talked a bit about the history, but then the current and since maybe almost at least 50, if not 100 years, this promotion of children getting interested in reading, it's considered important, it's always there. Every pregnant mother, when the child is born, gets a box of basic things you need for the baby, and that's free of charge from the government. And that has always included a book. Okay, that book is a hardcover book. The child can do whatever they want. The idea is just that the child gets somehow used to the idea of books, that they are in the world of the child since the very beginning. Then of course it continues. I don't know if it still continues. It's really a custom for parents and sisters and brothers to read to the young ones. It's really a habit. And I know that some of the children to whom I have read like that, you know, it's a little bit tiring because they want it every day, every evening, and they also want the same book to be read again and again. But now they are telling me how they cherish these memories. So there is something in it. Okay, the other important issue which I really wanted to mention is this library network in Finland, which we have had since the beginning of 19th century. I mean, libraries are everywhere. They are free. You can get whatever you want. You don't need to buy. And libraries also support the publishing industry because they do buy those books and other materials. Later there have been films and music, etc. And nowadays they also have footballs and sewing machines, etc. for people to use, because the idea of library is to serve whatever needs the community has. Finland's population is 5.5 million and we have 850 public libraries. Here I think we have about 60 public libraries, so Namibia is quite well in that. And then they have calculated how much the government pays for upkeep of these libraries and buying those resources. So it was 900 Namibian dollars per resident per year. So it's not actually too much. So I mean, the reading also refers often to this, that why Finland is one of the best countries rated in education. So those ratings come from PISA, which is the OECD study of 70 nations. They are actually here. Those ones that have color. So they study these nations in the world. There's only one African country, I think Algeria. And they do it every 3 years. And they study 15-year-olds, and they check their level of understanding science, mathematics, and their reading skills. And the reading skills is supposed to be at the analytical level. And Finland has been one of the best. A few years it was the best. Now it seems to be around 8 or something. Mathematics and science has gone down. Reading is still up. There is this other study that you all, I suppose, know, or many of you know about, the Southern and Eastern African Consortium Monitoring Educational Quality, SACMEC. That the study in 2007 was quite alarming in relation to Namibia, that at the level of grade 6 students, learners, many of them couldn't even read. And the reading skills level was lower than in the other SADC countries. In 2013 it has improved a bit, but there is still, in all the SADC countries, this problem of rural areas and children from poorer families, which, there is an inequality in it, in the capacity, in the competencies, school competencies. And that also means that if there is this problem, that the children from rural backgrounds and from poorer families, they are not getting the same level as the others. They also have less possibilities in progressing in the society and getting jobs, getting further studies. Okay, and now I was kind of reading papers of analysts of the Finnish education system. Why? What is the reason scientifically? What are the reasons scientifically? The other countries that are on top are actually the Asian countries. China, Singapore. So they have a very different system than Finland. I understand that theirs is very competitive. The Finnish system has its own peculiarities, and that means also that each country must find its own way, you know. So one of the main things that has been emphasized is the equality. That started in the 1970s when the school system was reformed. It had different ways. If you were good, you went to that stream. If you were not so good, you took a shorter way, you know. Now, in the 1970s, the school system is the same for everybody until high school. And what these studies have shown is that the students really get to the same level. We should just think, you know, what kind of children's books and do we want to have in libraries, in schools, at homes, you know. There is something in it that if the book is attractive, either how it was illustrated or either because the story is adventurous. There is sometimes a lot of idea that if, for instance, in schools we need to have educational books. If we want to get the children to be interested in reading and in books, they actually have to be interested, not so educational. And they have to have something in them that speaks somehow to their soul. That is if you want to create this habit of reading. It depends what you want, but if you want that, then actually you don't need to go for attractive books. If somebody could say, what kind of reading attracts you, or what do you read? Yeah, you?
I like fantasy stories. Also, doesn't really matter. Sometimes, if the book is interesting, I like novels.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
The Bible.
And why is it that you like to read the Bible?
Because the Bible has certain moral principles that you learn that help you carry on through day-to-day life. Whether you're a Christian or not, it's a good moral structure.
Yes, yes. I think that's one of the reasons why we read, really. Yeah?
I love most books and most genres, but I also really love books where nothing actually happens, but the character changes.
Well, I like autobiographies because I'm really curious about people's lives. I like to know, I'm very curious, so I like to read real stories, real life stories.
But nowadays, that is my main reading. I mean, I have read, I think, at least all that I have gotten my hands of especially Namibian and South African authors, their biographies. That is also to be somehow part of this society to learn about.
Atlas books.
Atlas.
Yeah.
Atlas, meaning maps. Or is it a series?
Maps.
Maps,
Some,
yeah.
maps.
Yeah. And why do you like to read maps, about maps or see maps? Oh, yes, yes. One more. Can somebody? Okay, you?
I like reading sad books because I really like to consider what people go through and how that person managed to go through it. So I love sad books. I really love listening to sad books.
Yes. How, yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's such a pleasure for me to be invited here to talk about something that I'm really, really passionate about, and that is writing. My name is Victoria Hashela Mufeti. Career-wise, I'm an educator. I'm a lecturer at the University of Namibia in the Department of Computer Science. But outside my career, I'm a writer and I'm a publisher. And it's something that I'm really, really passionate about from a very young age. Then that is reading and writing. As a young child, I spent most of my time reading, like in the library. I actually learned, I could say I learned especially how to write on my own. I'm self-taught. I just read a lot of books to see how conversations are written and things like that. Okay. So, I wrote my first book, or at least I attempted to write my first book when I was 9 years old. And obviously this was rejected. I still have the manuscript and I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But I tried, yeah. And of course the publisher was very good to me. They wrote me, they gave me some feedback to tell me what I could have done or what I should do differently next time. And this really gave me courage that perhaps if I could just spend more time and add more effort, and I might just be successful one day. And then fast forward 10 years later, I published my first book with Macmillan Publishers, which was Shower of Voices. It was a poetry book, and this book was approved for schools, grade 8 to 10. And I think it was in schools until last year. Yeah. Apart from that, because as I said, I'm really, really passionate about writing, I kept just trying to improve myself. I took part in writing competitions. Some of my pieces were featured in some books, or they were forward for some poetry were forward for some books and things like that. So it's really something that I'm passionate about. And then fast forward many years later, a publishing idea came to my head. I decided, okay, so why should we just have publishing houses that are existing? Like most of them are actually foreign. So why don't I come up with something also so that would help aspiring writers to also get published? And so saving started. I started saving at 30. It was many years ago. So eventually I managed to buy all the machineries that I needed, and so somehow that's how Micro White Publishing Press was born. The reason why you probably don't hear about it is because it's not something that, it's not a big organization. We still operate, we just have an outside office in my house. And actually it's perfect because if somebody, and we don't have a limitation of how many copies we want to print or whatever. So if I decide that, oh, actually there's something I need to do, even at 3 a.m. I can just go to the office and work. Yeah, it's an addiction. Okay, so these are just some of the books that we published. There is one, and then another. So the demand just started growing and growing. I think word of mouth. I don't even know how, but really, like every week, we have lots and lots of demands for people that want their books to be published, and we can't be more happier. And all those, this one I actually co-authored it. It's a children books for kindergarten children. And also this one I authored, it's mine. And then that one also is somebody else's. And then also one from Aini right here. Yeah. And then in addition, okay, you cannot really see this, but I just thought also, in order to come up with opportunities for aspiring writers, opportunities that not all of us had. We thought we could come up with a competition that we would run every year. So we started this year by like asking authors to submit stories of their choice, and we had different categories from children between 8 and 12, and then teens between 13 and 19, and then adults between 20 and 30. And the response was very overwhelming. We didn't think that, as they say, sometimes we believe that the reading or the writing culture is not that high in Namibia. It's not really that true. Maybe sometimes we just don't have the opportunities. The feedback, the response was really overwhelming. And so eventually we got our winners. These are also very small. The children categories, the teens category, and the adult category. But then eventually we realized that because one of our categories was Oshiwambo writers, because the publisher is Bamboo, so she can only edit Oshiwambo. So yeah, we managed to get some Oshiwambo submissions as well. So basically, we are just after this, we realized that the need is there. Maybe it's just the opportunities that were scarce. So we decided that we are going to be running this every. The winners get some free books. Like we will publish some free books for them, so that they can maybe sell them. And I think it would just be a good thing to have to be an author, you know, just to make them proud of themselves. Okay, so basically, I'm not a speaker. As you can see, I was just yeah. So this was it. I am a writer, not a speaker. And so basically that's me. If you want to contact me, my name is Vicky, and that's my number and our email address. So give us about maybe 3 years. You know, we always, even when you are in an interview, they always ask you, so what are your plans for, like your 10 years plan? And for us, the plan is to be one of the Namibian-born biggest publishing house.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Even though now we may be operating from the garage or from the outside office, whatever it is, after some time we really believe that we will have a big publishing house in town. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Mr. Simon from the University of Namibia. I'm a quality assurance practitioner. Can you all hear me from the back? Yes. Thank you very much. I don't know why I was called to present this, but my background is quality assurance. We are responsible for curriculum development, accreditations, institutional audit, quality reviews, and the list is continuing. Now, I was put on the spot to talk about what knowledge and skill does Namibia build for the future workforce. Yeah, for the future workforce. Sure. Okay. And I was following very well at the beginning, because I have heard that there are a lot of publishers who have written good books about our knowledge. I understand, and I hope so. Ne? Mm-hmm. And this is what should have, what is supposed to shape our knowledge and skills that should build our workforce in Namibia, predominantly. Is it not so? Although we are also responding to the international, market, globalization is here. We need to be relevant to the outside world, but our domestic knowledge, as a knowledge society, supposed to be the one that predominantly influence the knowledge and skills that's supposed to shape the future workforce. Is it not so? And I'll take it from that background. Now, when you talk about knowledge and skills in education and training provisions, you will not do it right if you don't talk about curriculum development. Because the development of the curriculum focus directly to the knowledge and skills that's supposed to be taught at school or at a university. Ne? And this is the curriculum that informs teaching, learning, and assessment at school. Teaching, learning, and assessment at school that give us graduates who will be relevant in the world of work. Therefore, the future of our workforce. Now, what questions are we asking ourselves? Curriculum development and the future of workforce. What do we incorporate in those curriculum that we develop that can shape our work, our students or our learners to become the best students in the world of work? The question is, what are the transformative mechanisms that we put in place to realize today the fourth industrial revolutions for the future workforce as we develop our curriculum? In the past, you found the curriculum is already developed. If it's history, you don't even ask where is it coming from. You just learn and go. Now, if it's English, the articles have got some, background information that are not familiar, but you are not involved in the development of the curriculum. But you always have got the questions. Now, I'm happy that we have got books that are written by our fellows that can also inform some of these articles as we go. But the next question is also, can we at least have 1/3 of this knowledge and skills that we publish here, incorporated in our curriculum for us to respond to the future of the job requirements? Knowledge society. Our own knowledge. As a society, we've got a knowledge that can influence what we teach, learn, and assess in school. But very importantly, we need to be responsive to fast-paced technological innovations that might share our workplace with artificial intelligence. Technology, there is that disruptive technology that is just among us. ODL, these days they are talking about ODL, open distance learning. We cannot do away with that. But again, we are saying the curriculum development processes should commit to lifelong learning for responsive future workplace. But we cannot run away from globalizations and responsiveness. The question is, as a knowledge society, we start right on top there. As a knowledge society, how do we strike a fair balance between our knowledge in our respective societies and the fourth industrial revolutions? Do we develop curriculum that are relevant to us while in line with global revolutions given time changes and technologies? I'll just flag a few questions. There is an issue of globalizations and internationalizations. We emphasize that we need to internationalize our curriculum so that we are relevant to international markets. But how much of ourselves is in those curriculum to be relevant, one, to our own market before we are relevant to the outside market? Now, we need to strike a fair balance. Where is that balance coming from? From our own knowledge as a knowledge society. Whatever we have published should ideally inform our curriculum when it comes to teaching, learning, and assessment. The issue of massifications, at a global context. Now, there were few colleges, few schools, few universities in the country. Now they are, becoming more. It's from elite to the few to mass. Now it's open up to everyone, access. Now how can we deal with the issue of massifications now that we can publish also? The demand becomes very diverse. You are dealing with very diverse, students or learners in a class.
My name is Deltunga Shikomgeni, and I am a student at NAST, but then for a hobby I do poetry, which is slowly becoming a passion. So I think something that poets, artists, and everyone seems to have in common is the ability to express their emotions in a certain manner. So the poem that I decided to write, which was recent, is basically just based on what is happening right now in Africa as a continent itself, the xenophobia and all that is happening. So I did not title it yet. Maybe you can help me title it. So I hope you like it. Umbundu, Africa, Umbundu. As a boy, you'd be told stories about warriors that fought with arrows and spears and carried shields that any gun could penetrate, but yet their spirit and courage gave them all the protection they needed. Ubundu, Africa, Ubundu. We heard stories about a continent that linked itself to independence, how a dark cloud covered the place we called home, but never the hearts of those that believe in a better future for their offspring. Ubundu, Africa, Ubundu. You read history books about men and women that fought to unite Africa, because they believed that only they could write and tell their story, that no man that came by boat had the right to define our existence, no right to be the authors of our future. Ubundu, Africa, Ubundu. And it's because of this we held on to the little light that spelled hope and gained freedom. We learned how to say the words, but yet failed to define them. Instead, we defined another. And we became so good at defining this word, we incorporated it into our day-to-day life. Laziness. And we became so good at being lazy that when we go to sleep, it's as if we get a degree from it. And we became so good at laziness, it's as if that those that once held the keys to our chains, whipped our backs, killed our people, they needed no weapon of any sort to see yet again Africa crumble. All they needed was a front seat to see Africa destroy itself. Umbundu, Africa, Ubundu. For you see, the African people have decided to do nothing, but still wish to claim fruits from a tree they did not help plant. What a shame, Africa, what a shame. And it's because of this shame, when one sees a fellow black man do something that he could have done, but then chose not to, you feel as if your pride has been stolen from you, as if you have been ripped away and then left naked and exposed. Africa, Africa, you chose violence to defend a family that was never in danger. You destroy and kill the neighbor that once came to your aid so that the blood of your blood would feel the sun and taste the rain and be free to call Africa their home. But yet, you decide to forget the past, dwell on the present, that you believe will destroy your future. But yet you carry the pen and paper that will result in a better outcome. But yet you choose to ignore it and choose the fool's path. Now the blood of your blood, what will be written in their history books? Is it the long walk to freedom or the walk that destroys Africa? Africa, rise, Africa, rise. For the leaders that fought so hard to make their home better than a battlefield, that draws blood and fills the rivers and give our youth nightmares, that fought for something great. Ubundu, Africa, Uhuru, rise. For stories will be told about how Africa was destroyed how Africa was destroyed. Many will talk about the invaders, but yet the ones that speak the truth and capture the truth. We'll speak about greed, corruption, and that the African people themselves are the ones that destroyed Africa. The spark was lit by our neighbors. Are you ready for the fire that will spread? Ubuntu Africa, stop xenophobia. Thank you.
Anganda sunye isikucha shikongeni. Untekuru washigala shanu konambi. Onkuto nkwashidira unkwanambu wakotati. I'm always the person who turn over the table. Shasho mukule kata mjoma English ama kumadoraka English ama stoka runga ku English. You always want to speak English, that you were created by the English or your God was an English person. Shasho uyu nina nitse aru de natse opetwa kwa unongo nunkurungu kukarunga mshikiro. As we black people, we're also given the gift by the Almighty, the Creator, talents in art. Shashi opuna oshima shimwe twavimbwa onga antu akutoa ubuntu. It's something that we forget as people who are called ubuntu. My parent taught me to speak my language and read my language proper. Are we going to read books that is going to talk to the soul of my African child? Are we writing the books of the vacuum of the system, the alien culture? There was something that Madame said at the end. Which book do you like or understand? What soul do you want to write in your book? Which book? Omambo. Well, I want to see in the future that people are going to write Uhokororo. Because if you want an interesting story for a child to sleep, that's your book. We as Africans, we are not writers, but we have the best memory archive. The hard drive of us is powerful. Our library is my grandmother. Uteo, Tambam, Bumbuli. I say, proverb, Tashire kunde, Chakuliangandu. That's our language, we write by speaking. On Jokonona, history is more important to tell the child where the child came, fourth generation. Ongano, you are developing well, if you can develop yourself first. The Finnish people said it very well. Their school system is based to the people in Finland, the understanding who they are, not these Namibian people or African people. We are having education, we don't know where we're going, coming even. And then we have children that fail grade 8 and are still failing, and you are telling the children are not good learners. Some so-called people are stupid. God is never stupid. A child is a creation of God. It's the first time you see this book and this DVD. It's written by me. How to do basket and pottery in your indigenous way of life. Education that was robbed from you and you think you were not educated before they come. You were already educated by the Creator. We were already created by the Creator because we could speak our names and we knew our languages and we knew our God. Hey, Watu. So if you want to learn, my children, who you are, you start from the soil. And the soil is a clay pot. That's nature. And you have baskets to make baskets. Because you are talking about art. I thought books was art. But people, when they speak about books, they speak another language. They don't tell the children the truth that books are art. And that's why children don't follow art, because they are not told the truth about the reality of words and terms of words. This is music from me. How many of you, my Namibian people, buys this music? I know you will buy because you are my friend. You read the books. We got told Ohungi ndilipoko mandoteho koronjo korona kukufundaza unga nguto nkwashida tatu kakaimbita na mera ana ya kwakara yazamo ndane tango afindikire tango. That child must know that. For that child to be able that I know who I am. Names, very important. And I came to realize names were created by human, not by God. Because human, one of the human, because we are two humans, there is a male and there is a female. So the man one wanted to take over the superpower of a woman. Because the woman is the one that has the supernatural power. Oyo wara haiko mwevi, mushuamba. Not men. And today women want to change themselves to be equal to me. Me, or what me? I don't give birth, I don't have emotions. How do you want to be equal to me? You created me. No, why I came with names is because I told you, my name my mother was demoralized by my father's family, and my father said, we don't know what to say. And my say I'm sick and you'll find it. I'm very proud to mention it because it's my language and it's my mother tongue. How do you translate mother language to Oshwambo? Language, because I didn't say tongue, you see. You see how we translate? We as artists are not recognized by individual people because they don't understand who we are. And it's because they know that we made them who they are. It can be your clothes you are wearing, it can be the shoes, it can be the chair, it can be everything that you do is art. Ano embo, se otweri longo momambo. So te putuka, otapi iko mambo. When I grow up, we are going to the books. You go to education. So that we call Mambo. And on Mambo first, the education was, it was the religions. So missionaries. That we call Mambo. It was a book, church, Bible. Today you go to church, me I went to the book. So you don't go and read the book nowadays. You go in the church and beautify yourself and show yourself that you have a nice car, you have a nice clothes. That's why I don't go to church, me. Because I used to go into a book so I understand the book. So, I have then to understand, that's why I can explain to my grandmother who does not know the word book. So for us then to make it very interesting for the children, the new generation to come to read our books, is when we come back to ourselves and start telling our stories that you've been told, the funny stories, so that this child can go through that experience to understand you as a mother, because now there's no understanding between me and my child. So that we can have our own captain in our own ship. You know, so I took my art from my grandfather's own dye and I make it a necklace. If we could teach that to the young boys, how to carve, they can live from it. If I sell this one $50, then I cannot go at Evelyn Street and beg for money. So art is within you, and you were born with it, and you have a talent. So education in its two parts of education. There's education that somebody is teaching you, and there's a parenting in my culture. But they will not call that with education, but that's the first education. That's the first one. Parenting is the first education. But they will never tell you about that because they robbed you from who you are. So we need to come there from where we are and then take that parenting and become part of education. So me, I'm fine, I'm done.
I'm Nilenge Nelao Lina, but I prefer you call me Nelao, it's my whole name. I started writing books when I was in grade 9, in 2014, with the help of Miss Amy, when she came to our school as a volunteer teacher, where she's supposed to teach us history and English, but she started teaching us art. She was a very kind woman to work with. She encouraged us, motivated us, and she introduce herself to us, what she do for the living. And I became interested in her. I was having a book with stories inside. I used to walk around following her. Miss, can you help me here? And then she said, I'm giving her a tough time. She will look for me a person who can help her. But the people rejected me at the first place. And I still follow, I never gave up. I followed her. And I know maybe she felt like, okay, let me just help her. And then she helped me, things around us. The first print, it came somehow, it was not that the best. And when I showed it to the school, everyone was complaining, no, your stories are worse, there is some spelling errors. I said, okay, those are the obstacles that you have to go through if you want to achieve something in life. And one of my teacher, my English teacher, she teared the book. The first print, she teared up. It was not quite disappointed to me because it's not a matter of jealousy. She's just confused. She doesn't know what she's doing. And then the second print came again. The errors were not that much, but it's on the track, we are coming there. And then again, I show it to the teachers and to the learners. And then they said, it's fine. But the teacher, you know, I don't feel that bad. I still go to her and say, Miss, this is, because she was my English teacher. I go to her and I say, Miss, this is the second print. Can you please wait and see how it is? Then she just walked. She take it and throw it back to me. I pick it up. I say, and I left. Because it's like she doesn't understand, or I don't know what to say. Someone must help me. When I went in grade 11 is when I got the final book. And it was nice. I started selling it. The teachers, they bought it, learners bought it. I got very, very good advice from my teachers and my friends. But her, I don't know what's wrong with her, but I still go to her. From there, I completed my grade 12. I did not make it. I got 22 points in grade 12. I moved to Windhoek. It's where I studied my design, fashion design. I designed clothes, as you can see. I did this myself. I also host a fashion show in the Umsati region. And I'm also planning to host another show in Windhoek. And I want to achieve in life. Basically, I want to open a fashion design school in the Umsati region, accompanied by an art activities that will also be taking place, because I realize in our region, most of the kids that are there, they are creative, are the kids that you need to bring together so that they can provide something for themselves. Because if you walk around the street, you will find them, some fail grade 10, and you find a person making this clay pot. I'm the one who did this when I was in grade 10. And I told myself I need to put it on top of my book because I feel proud of myself. My message to the parents is that don't force your kid to do something against her will. You should know that your kid is best in singing. Allow your kid to follow her dream. Because if you force her to study for it to become a teacher, you are forcing your kid to end up in the street. Thank you. Because if she wants to become a dancer and she's in the class and you want her to become a teacher and she's in the class. When the teacher is coming to teach, she will not concentrate. Never let somebody's opinion be your option. Let your own opinion be your option. Because if I come here and I say, let's go and start writing books, will you make it at the end? No, you will not. But if you want to become a nurse and you study and you pass your grade 12, I believe and I have hope in you. You'll become a nurse. I would like to say thank you. I love you and take care.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on something that I'm very passionate about, but more so passionate for your sake. I just want to know how many of you have ever wondered how people make money from writing books. How do you make money from writing books? How do we sit here and listen to Jay-Z and Destruction Boys and they get rich while we're listening? Anyone know? No. Nobody knows? All right, so that happens through copyright. So copyright is intellectual property. It is a type of intellectual property. What it is it's defined as a legal right over your creation. So something that you have written that is originally made to you, you then have the right to give to a publisher through a license agreement to sell the book for you, and every time the book sells, you make money off it, all right? So that is how authorship makes a career. So a lot of times people wonder, our parents fear people becoming artists and writers because they say, how are you going to pay the bills, right? You can't draw, how are you going to make money? You can't sing, how are you going to buy food? And a lot of that comes from the lack of understanding and awareness over copyright. So just to repeat, copyright is defined as a legal right that is granted to you by the government over the creation that you have, all right? Once you have a copyright testimonial or a certificate that legitimizes your work, meaning it now certifies this thing is yours, you then now have to use your business sense to pair up with recording labels, or in your case, pair up with publishers when you get into contracts that will now be the ones to create illustrations for the book, make sure that the book is marketed, and when they sell the book, you enter into agreements that say that for every dollar that is coming from this book, 50 cents will go to me as the author, and 50 cents will go to you as the publisher, all right? So every time Harry Potter is sold, money goes into J.K. Rowling's pocket, a portion of the money. The reason why the relationship between publishers and authors can be a little bit difficult is because sometimes those contracts make it look like the publishers are the ones who gain most of the money. And that is where you need commercial experts to help you with the contracts to make sure that they're fair and the distribution of reward, what we call royalties, is equal to the publisher and also to the author. Now, in Namibia, we have the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act of 1994 that is governed by the Business Intellectual Property Authority, BIPA. So you as authors, once you now write books, you have covers to these books, you have illustrations in this book, it now becomes an original work made by you. What you do then is you go to BIPA's office or you go to BIPA's website and you apply for a copyright testimonial. In the process of applying for the copyright testimonial, you attach your original piece of work to your application for them to evaluate your application. Once your application has been evaluated and is successful, you then get a copyright testimonial that you can now use in the event that you have an infringement case. Now, infringement means when someone steals the idea that you had in a book. So if I now write the same book and call it Peter Potter, J.K. Rowling can come and sue me because I've taken something that's very similar to her line of books to write my own. So as authors, you have to be very cautious about how you are writing your work and how you ensure that your work is protected as an original work that you own. Now, copyright is interesting because the rights that we confer to you, the rights that we give you, the rights that the government gives you as a copyright owner are the following. It gives you the right to exclude other people from using your work without permission. It gives you the right to copy that work yourself. So like if I wrote the book and I make a photocopy, I have the right to do that. It gives me the right to distribute that work, meaning I can now put that book in CNA, I can put that book in Revivus, I can put that book in the National Library and in the libraries of UNAM, NAST, and IUM. It gives me the right of distribution. It gives me the right of adaptation, meaning if I wanted to take the book, like Papa Shipongeni, and make it into a song, or make the book into a movie, that is an adaptation. You've adapted your work into a different stream. And it also gives you a right to give that right to other people. So for example, I am not a singer. I don't sing well, but I can write. So I can now ask a singer, can you take my poem and make it into a song? So I give that right to a singer. So you as a copyright holder have the right to also assign your rights to someone else, all right? Once you do that, there are two things that come into play. Copyright is complicated because we have two streams of rights. We call one right a moral right, right of paternity, and then the next one we call an economic right. Now the way I like to explain this in a simple way is using photography. All companies call photographers to come and take corporate photos of them, right? So a company like DBN does not have a full-time photographer working for them. But yet when we go on DBN's website, we see a picture of the CEO, we see a picture of the executive committee. How did they get those pictures? They called photographers to come and take those photos for them. So how copyright works is, the moral right is the right to always be named as the author of that work. So if you go on the website, in the fine print, you will see the photographer's name mentioned. But the economic right, the right to make money, the right to use that photo belongs to DBN. Let me explain it even more simply. In authorship, when you're writing books, the problem comes in with publishers over these two rights. Because you as the author always retain the right to be named as the author. No one can ever take your poem and scratch your name off. The minute you write a poem, it's yours. But now, the people that you give the right to sell it for you on your behalf, earn the economic right. Because they say, if you wanted to sell the poem yourself, you could have done so, but you came to me to publish this work for you, to sell this work for you. So because I'm going to do the hard work of going to the newspapers, marketing this, getting people to buy it, I also need a cut. So they'll say, I'll take 30 cents for every dollar that comes, and every 70 cents will go to you. So the economic right goes to the publisher. But your moral right, moral means my name is attached to it. Right of paternity will always be there. So even though we know that there's Penguin publisher, if J.K. Rowling gave the book, the manuscript to Penguin, Penguin makes money from Harry Potter, but you don't see Harry Potter by Penguin. You see Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling or J.R. Rowling. So that is what we call the economic right versus the moral right. Sometimes people have both those rights, and other times people don't have those rights. One of the easiest examples is Beyonce. Beyonce does not split her rights because she owns the record label that she makes music for. So the moral right, all her songs, it's written by Beyonce, but then the people who are selling the music is her. So she also owns the economic right. So she doesn't split the $1 for every $1, 30 cents goes to her. The whole $1 goes to her. So that is why you see more famous authors and more famous artists decide to own their own record labels or to make their own publishing companies so that they don't have to split the costs. But it's very expensive. You people know how expensive it is to bind a manuscript, to edit it, to have illustrations in it, and that is why publishing houses are important. But what I will say as authors, especially who are growing, always read your contract. Make sure that the rights have been split accordingly, that your name remains on the manuscript, but then, and also that the percentage of sharing of the income is fair. I want to say that it's very important as well to understand that copyright has a lot of complexities. Complexities in the sense that when the digital technology came, it made it more difficult for us to track who owns things originally, all right? And so that is why when we want to give you a copyright testimonial, when we want to say that a book or a poem or a song is originally from you, we have to do what we call an evaluation of originality. And it's not to say that if you took a poem by Maya Angelou and turned it into a song, that you will not have that right granted to you. But you have to ascertain and you have to make sure that Maya Angelou's people are aware of the fact that you are making a song from her poem. The right of adaptation. The reason is because moral right gives you the right to say, I don't want my work to be changed. If I wrote a song, I don't want it to be made into a movie. I don't want it to be made into a book. You have the right to say that. Or you also have the right to say how you want your work associated with you. In an interesting case, I don't know if any of you know Katy Perry. She's an American artist. She got sued by a Christian rapper called Lecrae. And the reason she got sued is because Lecrae's people said that her song, Dark Horse, had the same tune as his song. And he said that because Dark Horse has connotations of mystic powers and Greek mythology, he doesn't want, as a Christian artist, for people to wonder, is this guy Christian or is he into dark magic or what? Now he said that she was tainting his reputation as a Christian artist. And he won the case because it's a right of adaptation. I don't want to be seen as X, Y, and Z. So let's say you write a poem and someone decides to make a Broadway show at the National Theatre and there's a lot of nudity in that poem. You can say, I don't want to be perceived as somebody who is associated with a show that has nudity in it. Can I please withdraw that poem as a Broadway theater show? And that protects your reputation because you as authors know that a lot of your money is going to come from your reputation, what people think of you. When we think of Maya Angelou, what do we think of? Wisdom, power, knowledge, intelligence. And that is a brand that she created within herself as an author. So you have to remember that as an author, whatever you are writing, you have the right to maintain your reputation associated to your work. And you have the right to say that you don't want your work to be associated in a way that you don't want to. Lastly, I'll talk about the issue of duration. Do you know that Michael Jackson is still making money from his music while he's dead? And it's because of copyright. Copyright lasts for the length of time you're alive, plus 50 years after you die. So, 50 or 75. So the US have said it's 75, they're fighting for 75 years, and that fight is interestingly coming from Walt Disney, because they want the copyright on Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse to continue, because they've lapsed their time. But now other people want to use Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse for themselves, but now Walt Disney is nervous because they make majority of their money from Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse. So they are fighting the US government to say they need an extra 25 years of protection over Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse. It's an interesting thing. My job sometimes is very interesting. Yeah, sometimes it's very interesting. I have to read all these weird cases. I'll tell you a weird story to end. So it's either plus 75, Namibia is still plus 50. Most countries that are signatories to the World Intellectual Property Organization is life plus 50 years. So what that means is, the same way when your cuckoo passes away and she had a house, the house goes to you. That's going to happen with your estate. So if you pass away, the books that you wrote become your children's or becomes your family's, and every time that book is sold, the money goes to your family, all right? So that's like how Marvin Gaye's kids are all sorted, because all they do is they have a legal team that watches for people who take their father's songs, they sue them, they win, they get the money, then they live. So that's what they do. That most of Marvin Gaye's children have made the money that they have from suing people who use their father's songs without permission. So the last person who lost was Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams. They had to pay the Marvin Gaye family, I think it was 5.3 million US for the song Blurred Lines, because they took it. So those are the things. That's how, when you are reading those cases, it's me. Those are my people. It's copyright and infringement, etc. So I like telling this story because it's silly, and I know that now we have a younger audience, so it means more. But the most interesting case that has happened in the intellectual property fraternity in the last 3 decades was over a selfie. So a photographer from the UK went to Indonesia, and his job is he photographs forests and animals. So he's into Natural Geographic. I think he was associated with the National Geographical Channel, etc. So he photographs trees and animals, etc. So he has all this amazing, expensive equipment. So he went to the forest and he forgot something in his car. So he left the camera on the tripod and he just quickly dashed to the car and came back. When he came back, he found the orangutans playing around with his equipment. And one of them took a photo, a selfie. So they took, and it's a proper photo. If you just Google monkey copyright case, and you'll see it. So it's a beautiful selfie. He's smiling, the monkey's smiling, and it's at the right distance. I mean, who taught this orangutan how to do a selfie? But he knew. So this photographer goes back and he develops the negatives. He finds this photo and he loved it. So he obviously started using it in his work as a portfolio. And then the zoo found out. And they were like, wait. You are popularizing this orangutan that took a selfie, and all the money that's coming to you should be going to us because we own the zoo where the monkey's at. And do you know, I'm ashamed to say that it became a legitimate case in court. They went to court, they fought, this one won in this state, and now the problem is with my career is because because every country has different sets of legislation, you can sue everywhere. So people will first start and sue in the US, and especially in Texas, because Texas, the judge there has been known to be very interesting with her rulings. So they start in Texas, then they go to California, then they go to New York. When they're not successful, they go to the UK, then they go to Germany, then they go to Japan, right? So you just keep suing each other everywhere, and there's just like 400 different cases with your name until you get what you want. So now these people started in the US, and the government was like, this is ridiculous. You cannot give money to a monkey over a selfie. This guy, it was his camera, he left it there, he went to the car, he came back. What is a monkey going to do with the money? Then the zoo argued that, the zoo's legal team argued that no, because the case of the orangutans is very, very difficult right now in terms of food and well-being, it would have been beneficial if that money went to the zoo for upkeep of the orangutans. And then the animal rights people heard that, and they went to the UK, and they also started arguing about it, and they're saying how fair is it for photographers to start making money off zoos, and zoos are trying to preserve animals. You know how animal rights people are. They went for that thing, and then the UK government agreed with them, and this poor photographer started losing so much money in legal fees. So then the World Intellectual Property Organization stepped in and said, look, you guys, listen, copyright was meant for human beings, okay? Human beings. An orangutan is not a human being. Yes, it took a selfie, but you cannot give money to a zoo because of a selfie over a monkey. So then they went back to the US, and the US agreed with the World Intellectual Property Organization, and they eventually decided to reach a settlement and said that this guy would just give a portion of the proceeds that he got to the zoo. And that's how everybody ended up happy, okay? So now the zoo got a little bit of money. They bought, the fertilizers and all of the things to make sure that the orangutans are comfortable in the zoo. So needless to say, copyright is very important, and it's unfortunate that authors, Namibian authors, and especially African authors, don't always understand the importance of these contracts. So please, I always say, please read the fine print before you sign, because people sign off their money just like that. And then you start proving your parents that no, this person really cannot pay the bills by being an author, whereas it's just that you signed a really bad contract. Okay.
My name is Nangula Hamarwa, and I used to call myself that I'm an artist. I even said that I wanted to entertain the kids with something for 1 minute. Unfortunately, they are gone, but it's fine now. It's fine. As I said, my name is Nangula Hamarwa, and I will be talking about the books that I wrote recently. I'm sorry, first I have to apologize because I'm not really good in formal things. I'm not a speaker. I'm more good in action. I cannot express myself with my voice. That's the problem. But I will try. I wrote 2 books titled Pendapala Omnona and Ulilifa Iholikanefa. They are all in Oshuambo. Pendapala Omnona, this one, and Ulilifa Iholikanefa is this one. Pendapala Omnona is a children's songs booklet that was published in 2017. I wrote this book after identifying the need for local children's songs. The main objective of the book is to encourage children to have moral value, faith, and hope. Okay, the main objective of the book is to encourage children to have moral value, faith and hope in anything they are doing in a form of singing. The composition of the booklet is done in different phases. Bedtime, not bed, B-E-D. Bedtime, inspiration, funny, and waking up songs. The book is consisting of 12 songs written in Oshuambo and English. And there's an audio CD as an accompanying material. Thank you. All the songs in the book are new, and therefore I can proudly say that they are purely 100% Namibian. It's not something that I copied somewhere, it's from here. The booklet was well received by the community members, especially the Sunday school teachers and parents as individuals. All the people who love to sing will benefit from this book, as they will also learn new songs when they are teaching their children. Without wasting any time, let me talk about the newly published book, Ulilifa Iholikanifa. This book is only 3 months old now. It's very new. Ulilifa Iholikanifa is a proverb in Oshuambo, Oshkwanyama language, plainly translated to mean, be wise with your choice in life. Bad choices might put you into trouble. Ulilifa Iholikanifa is a fiction book that is teaching us about the choices we make in life. The 2 chapters from the beginning of the book is based on a true story that I experienced from my childhood. And out of that experience, I created a main character of a lady who plays a big role in the book. Are we together? Yes. Hey, you look serious. I have a question here comes like, I know most of people, they like to ask, how did you come up with the book? It started almost at the end of 2017. One day while I was home, busy with my house chores, I had a kind of inner voice in the form of a question. You know when you have something in your head like, why can't you write a book? It came like that. I was like, hey. In my entire life, I never thought of writing a book ever. I'm a song composer. I enjoy composing songs. That's what I like doing. But writing a book, how am I going to start? I was like, no, I will not do it. I ignored the idea. I was like, no, I will not do it. After 3 or 4 days, the same thing again. Why can't you write a book? Then I was like, okay, maybe I should try to do something. Let me write something. Later on, I came up with the idea of writing what I experienced through my childhood. Then out of that, I created a character that goes with the title. That's how I came up with this book. I think I have to cut my speech a little bit short because we don't have enough time. Okay, I will just quickly talk about the book. The book has educational, informative, emotions, love, and hope. What motivated me to write in Oshuambo? I already told you how I came up with the idea. It came in Oshuambo. There's no way I can change it in English. I decided to write in Oshuambo as I have realized that most of people are now more fluent in English. Our children are not taught to speak, read, or write in our vernacular language. Languages, like any other things, do extinct. And I think it's our responsibility to promote and develop our languages for generation and generation to come. it's in that regard that I wrote this book in Oshwambo in order to promote, embrace, learn, and preserve our local languages that most of young people think. When you speak Oshwambo, they think maybe you are not educated, maybe you are not intelligent enough, or maybe something is not right with you. Yeah, that's what they think. But I'm not saying English is not a good language. But the English that we idolize today is promoted and continuously developed by English people. I'm sure we can do the same with our languages as well. Can I please have a round of applause? The impact of the book is, it's excellent to all readers, especially the youth who are facing challenges caused by various aspects like peer pressure, death of their parents at early age, unemployment, and challenges of not being gifted in school. You know, nowadays if you are not gifted in school, it's a problem. But we can't be gifted in the same thing, all of us. The book will open the minds of readers that there is no permanent circumstances in life, and whatever you want in life, the ball is in your hands. It's up to you. It's also motivating the readers to know the importance of their talents and use them to develop their skills in order to improve their lives, instead of just waiting for other people to do things for them. If you can plait hair, it's your talent, use it. Don't expect someone to come and do things for you. What are the challenges I faced during the processing of this book? I don't like talking about this one, because it's like when you're talking something too much, it's like you're worshiping it. Now it's like, yes, I'm here, I got you. Let go. That's the challenge that I went through when I was processing this book. It's a struggle. And the next challenge that I went through, it was hard for me to find a professional editor. You know, most of people nowadays, when they go like, oh, Shwambo, no. If it was English, yes. It was hard. Yeah. That was the summary of Pendapalaum Nona and Ulilifai Hurikanfa. Right now, I'm still busy with the distribution of the book to local shops. But in the meantime, please don't hesitate to contact me in case you want the copy of one of these. I thank you.
My speech is very short because Papa Shikongen has spoken much of it. So, Director of Proceedings, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, like it was said, my name is Namutenya. And Nangula is my sister. So all my siblings have, the names are almost similar. Yeah? We have Hangula, we have Hamtenya, and those are our first names. So those years you are expected to have Maria or Mary or Huhu, but we are so lucky that we have our indigenous names. And Baba Shkongene has actually spoken about it. So it's my pleasure to be talking here today at this momentous event. And for those who probably do not know me, I am a librarian by profession. So the knowledge that we are talking about, the knowledge that we are writing, is housed in this building, and we take care of it. So we are taking care of our country knowledge. All these books that we have here are probably already in here, in this building. And they will be there for so many years to come. So as a librarian, we take care of information. And the information that I'm talking about is not just any kind of information. The information that we have, specifically professional selected, it is evaluated. And this information that we take care of is the information that will contribute to the development of this country. So if this information can be compared to food, we say that it's 110% fit for human consumption. So please give a round of applause to the librarians. So the topic that I'll be talking today is not about librarianship. It's about preserving Namibia indigenous knowledge. We spoke about knowledge, all kind of knowledge, but the knowledge that Papa Shikongen was talking here need to be preserved as well, like any other knowledge that is available. So you're probably wondering as to why a librarian is talking about knowledge, indigenous knowledge for that matter. And what is indigenous knowledge anyway? The kids are gone. It would have been probably like they would be thinking, what is she talking about? What is indigenous knowledge? So indigenous knowledge has been summarized by various researchers as unique knowledge confined to a particular culture or society. It's also known as local knowledge, folk knowledge, people's knowledge, traditional wisdom, or traditional science. Papa Shikongen has said that. That's why I say it made actually my work very easy to think. So this knowledge is generated and it's transmitted by community over a time in an effort to cope with the socio-economic environment. So the unique knowledge of our community, it's a very important facet of the world's cultural diversity, and they provide a foundation for locally appropriate sustainable development. One thing to note is that this knowledge that I'm talking about, unfortunately, is passed through generations by word of mouth. The story that we hear from our forefathers, and most of the times you find that it's not documented. And if this knowledge is not documented, it means that we don't have it here. I spoke about the information and knowledge that we take care of. What we take care of, it's what is documented. What is not documented, that's a library somewhere in somebody's mind. And unfortunately, we will not be able to take care of that. For that person, we cannot keep that person in a specific room, to tell us about that story. And when that person is no longer there, the library is burned down, unfortunately. So this knowledge that we are talking about, it's agricultural knowledge, food preparation, conservation, healthcare, education, and a wide range of other things that are happening within our society. So ladies and gentlemen, why are we talking about knowledge in a modern society? Why are we talking about indigenous knowledge in a modern society? And why should we take time anyway to learn about indigenous knowledge? Because somebody will do I really need to know what our forefather used to know? I mean, if I need something, I can always Google it, isn't so? Yeah, one can say that. So most of us, or most of people, are meant to believe that when we are talking about indigenous knowledge, we are referring to witchcraft. Some people think so, that's witchcraft that they are talking about. Witchcraft can be part of it, yes, but there's much more that we need to learn that will actually help us to cope in this society. I've always admired the indigenous way of preparing food, our indigenous way of treating various ailments, our traditional dances, our traditional beliefs. And I personally can say that, this kind of knowledge made us who we are today. My personal thinking is that as much as we want to embrace, the modern way of living, we have to learn where we come from, our roots. We need to know where our forefathers were standing, and that's our foundation. The reason why, most of us are sick day in and day out, it's because we eat what we don't know. What are you eating currently? Do you know what is in the food that you are eating? Probably not. You have seen Papa Shikongen with his Oshikundu. You know what is in there. And it's good for his body. So we eat what we don't know, we drink what we don't know. And unfortunately, the phrase that says that what you don't know will not kill you doesn't apply there. Because what you don't know at this point will kill you, unfortunately. So I think our forefathers have been, scientists. They have thought things through. And Papa Shikangani just spoke of Ombike. Who told them how to make Ombike? It's because, they thought about this and they, mixed things and come up with something that, will make them happy, if that is the case, or something, that will contribute to the society. So why are we talking about preservation of indigenous knowledge? I'll still go back to that question. The libraries that we have in the country are full of books, full of knowledge. But if you go in our libraries, there's only probably 1% or 2% of our indigenous knowledge. That means what we are taking care of is somebody's knowledge. It's good, it's contributing to our development, but we need to find, to equalize that if we can. Or if it's not coming to be equal, we should at least be closer to that. Because this is Namibia. When you go to Namibia, you want to find Namibian materials. You want to, talk about Namibian culture. It should be documented and it should be somewhere. So our Directorate of Namibia Library and Archive Service identified that gap. That, we have so much information, but where is our information in this building? It's nowhere to be found. And what we have done then, we have introduced a project that is titled Preserve Namibia Indigenous Knowledge in 2015. That project was aimed to contribute and to enrich the preservation of indigenous knowledge for future generations, and also to assist in introducing digital systems to improve and enable easy access to indigenous knowledge. So when we are talking about indigenous knowledge, we are not scared of technology, because we know technology is an enabler. So if we document this and we want it to transmit to the other person, the mode that we are going to use is technology. So we just want to make sure that our information is documented and it can be accessed by other people elsewhere. So this project was now funded by the National Commission on Research, Science and Technology. And thus far, we have carried it in 5 regions, namely Oshikoto, Oshana, Ohangwena, Omsati, and Hartsap. So what we have done is that with this project, sometimes they say if you cannot read it, you can watch it. We have done the documentaries in indigenous knowledge. So these documentaries have been aired on NBC. Probably some of us have seen them. It's something that we said, we have so many indigenous people who cannot read. And if they cannot read and they want to know about their knowledge, they can still watch it somewhere. So we have done 16 documentaries in Oshuambo. Because I speak Oshuambo and I thought it would be easy for me to start from home and see how the project is going. So we have documented, this is like, if you watch these DVDs, they will tell you step by step how to do things. If you want to make omaloto, for example, some of you don't know how to make omaloto. You can just put in your documentary. If you want to write it somewhere, but we will do that for you as well. Papa Shkongene started already, so we probably don't have to duplicate. You just take your documentary, put it in on your TV or something. They'll tell you step by step. And we have identified experts for every activity that we have documented. So they will tell you how to make oshipundu, how to cook oshifima, all those kind of things. Why we have done that is also that, we are talking about poverty. Sometimes we have materials or we have ingredients, but we don't know how to make something. But if you have now information on a documentary, you'll be able to take this ingredient, mix it with this one, and come up with something that will help you. We have also, so the things that we have done Omaongo. I don't know, some of the things I don't even know them in English, but I think, people who can speak Oshwambo will understand. We have made Ojove. If you don't know, documentary step by step. Lots of people now really like indigenous food, but we don't know how to make this indigenous Omai, you know, that beautiful thing that you put on your chicken. Omaje nanga, very good for your skin, for our skin. We don't want to do that or we don't know how to do that. But when you find this lotion in a shop, we buy it. It's something that you can actually do at home. So this will empower people, will empower our community to do their own things. The future plan of this project is that we want to capture lots of information for different regions, to cover actually all the regions in the country. We have already, have a website. If you just type in like Preserve Namibia Indigenous Knowledge, you'll be able to see what we have put in our website. We also have a Facebook account. And what we would want to do is to design mobile applications so that you don't carry this DVD with you. You can actually just download something and have it at hand. So that when you're at home or wherever, you don't say, where's my documentary? You have it already on your account. And most definitely is that we want our indigenous knowledge to be as accessible as possible to all people. The challenge with documenting indigenous knowledge is that this project is labor intensive. You know, it will take so many many days for us to be in the field. So even identify people who have that skill still, to work with traditional leaders so that, you know, we get authorization to do that. And it's very expensive to do these documentaries. One of the, if you see this documentary, or this cover actually, there are 4 documentaries in here. And one documentary costs 30,000. One. So that means what I'm carrying here, you just multiply 30,000 by 4. It's in one. In this one. And we are selling this for $100. You ask why? It's because we want you to learn. We want you to have this. We want our people to have this information. So the NCRST have decided to invest in this because we know that it will be of the value to the country. A major concern on preservation of indigenous knowledge, I think the issue of intellectual property has been already said, and copyright issues. One thing for sure is that, you know, why we are authorized to do this is because for us we are mandated to do this. The Minister of Education is mandated to ensure equal access to knowledge. And we don't just want to have knowledge, you know, that is created by somebody else. It's also our call to find our knowledge and also make it accessible. So we are mandated to do this. And the NCRST are also mandated to ensure that research is done in the country. So the issue of copyright here is that this is in a government hands, and we really, sometimes we think about the people, yes, but as much as we think about the people, we think about the country as well, and our children that are yet to come. So, and a good thing also is that some of the knowledge here that we document is in public domain. I can show you how to cook pap, you know, but nobody can claim that, you know, the recipe of pap is mine, because it's not mine. So it's in a public domain and it can be documented. I think, because we don't have so much time, I will probably just end it there with the conclusion that we need to aggressively address the issue of preservation of our Namibia indigenous knowledge. We need to document it, and we need to make it accessible. And it needs to be incorporated, you know, into the national policy and development documents. Because this is us, this is Namibia, and we need to really sell the Namibia that we want in the future. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm a teacher by profession, so I need to get the energy back. Good afternoon. I go by the name of Dr. Joseph Mukaroli. I'm an English lecturer at the University of Namibia. I teach academic writing to master's and PhD students. More than that, I'm a published author of the book Tura Boy, If you want to know why young people do the crazy things they do in Tura, read this book. It's a novel. Number 2, if you want to become the best version of yourself, Happiness is no PhD, How to Live a Happy and Confident Life. So get these 2 books if you want to upgrade your reading for this year. I'm absolutely privileged and honored and thankful to be here in front of you. I would like to express my sincere gratitude towards Namibia Book Fair that took out the time and the effort to invite me to speak on why should we develop a reading culture in Namibia? Why should we develop a reading culture in Namibia? Ladies and gentlemen, most countries on the African continent and also in the entire world have been very particular on the development of a reading culture among their citizens. The UNESCO Manifesto of 1994 states that constructive participation and the development of democracy depend on the following: a satisfactory education as well as a free and unlimited access to knowledge, thought, culture, and information. The efforts of developing a reading culture cannot be ignored. Mackenzie describes reading as an instrument for acquiring lifelong learning and reading skills. On the other hand, Wawawire argues that reading is so important because it is central to development. If we want to develop this country, we need to read. Everybody's talking about a knowledge-based society. What is a knowledge-based society? We should read. That's exactly what it says. Moreover, it is essential to full participation in modern society. It adds quality to life and provides access to culture and cultural heritage. Exactly what everybody's been talking about today, culture and cultural heritage. Equally important, ladies and gentlemen, it empowers and emancipates citizens. I want to repeat that. It empowers and emancipates citizens. Reading. It brings people together. Here we are, reading. It brings people together. Reading is essential. It is important because books are the key to the world. And I'm talking about the real world and the fantasy world. Therefore, reading should be encouraged in Namibia. Research has shown, I want the young people to listen and the students and the lecturers. Research has shown that without extensive reading, reading for pleasure, reading outside the curriculum, reading anything that's not school related, students cannot develop skills of locating, selecting, organizing, manipulating, analyzing, evaluating, and processing information. Without reading, you can't do that. It is also believed that an illiterate population can pose a serious problem in a country. An illiterate population nation can pose a serious threat to the country. Moreover, the negative trend can lead to a split in the country between those who have access to information and those who do not have access to information. This, however, can affect the people's ability to make informed decisions. Critical thinking abilities lacking. For instance, how can a voter in Namibia carefully consider his political or her political choice if he or she does not have free access to information? Number one. Number two, how can one promote the cultural heritage without the written word? We've been speaking about culture the whole day. Somebody is to sit down and write down these cultures. We have to write our books in indigenous languages. Ladies and gentlemen, the promotion of a reading culture in Namibia is not a new concept at all. No. Many activities and programs have taken place to promote the concept since independence. However, the other body that is aggressively trying to promote a reading culture in Namibia and should be lauded for all its effort is Namibia Book Fair. A round of applause. Now, how can you cultivate a reading culture on a personal level? I want to give you a few hints. Number one, set reading times. When do you would like to read? In the morning or in the evening? Choose a time that is perfect for you. Some of us, lunch hour when everything is quiet. You need to set a reading time. Number two, have a book on soft copy on your phone. It's so funny, we carry all this trash on our phones, videos, viral videos, things. You know, currently these videos about the xenophobic attacks, everybody's having them. Have a soft copy. Every time you're free, you just go to the app and you start reading. Number three, always carry a book. I always carry a book. I'm currently reading this book. You know the notion that says that do not leave your house without your cell phone. It should become, don't leave your house without a book. That's what we should do. Not your cell phone, your book, that is hard copy if you can. Very important. Number four, set a target. I've made it a point that I read a book each month. I'm not kidding you. Every year, the same New Year resolution, I read one book each month. How many books will I have read by December? 12 books. There you go. It's possible. We need to make time to read. It's possible. Number five, make it fun. Go to your favorite spot. I see a lot of young hipster people are hanging at Slow Town, Chopsies. While you're having your favorite drink, read. While you're having your favorite coffee at Slow Town, read. Have fun while you are reading. Reading is supposed to be fun. So wherever you like to chill, as we call it, have a book to read. I love going to Avani. It's my favorite spot. And I sit there, have my favorite Americano, and I read. Have fun while you are reading. Number six, use social media to motivate yourself and others. Why do we use social media for all the wrong reasons? We try to impress people for our fake lives. This is what I've eaten. This is what I've got. These are the latest shoes. Why don't you tell your friends, hey, I've just read this book. This is a must-read, people. Give a small description about the book. That's what you can do through social media. Become a blogger. You know, start writing about the things you've read. That is important if we want to cultivate a reading culture. Not only having viral videos and gossiping and exposes whoever's doing what, we must get real and use social media for the right purposes. Educational purposes, ladies and gentlemen, young people, youth, for the right purposes. So, use social media to motivate other people to read. Tell your friends what you've read. Very important. Not only what you've eaten and what show you've attended and who's performing where. It is important to say, I have read these 3 books. What have you read? Talk about the books that you've read. Instead of just gossiping about the xenophobia. Let's get real. Let's read. Ladies and gentlemen, in the final analysis, it is important to encourage a reading habit so that people grow up mentally to be able to fulfill their potential at every level. That's from a village to the University of Namibia. It is advised that the education sector in a country should provide a fairly good information infrastructure which can form a solid base on which information services can develop. The importance of the information resources is vital for education development in any country, also in Namibia. There is a need, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, to improve access. I want the librarians to hear this. To improve access to books and other information resources to the various user groups at the right time and the appropriate form. I am also aware that the task of promoting a reading culture in Namibia is not an easy one. I'm aware of that. However, all the parties in both the educational sector and the private sector should coordinate their efforts to achieve this goal. Equally important, it is necessary for libraries, libraries and other stakeholders to reach out to the people, exactly what they are doing with the indigenous programs. Librarians will have to take books to the people rather than waiting for people to visit them if they really want the people to read. Yes, that's what we're supposed to do. There are a lot of old books that we just store in libraries. Take those books and donate them everywhere, schools, wherever, so people can read them. Moreover, ladies and gentlemen, it is also necessary to provide materials which are enjoyable and entertaining so that people may be motivated to read. Once again, librarians, you must learn to step out of your secure domains, this little kingdom here, and get closer to the people at grassroots if we want to inculcate a reading culture. Listen to this. If we give people what they want, rather than what we think they should have, then they will start reading. Their literacy skills will grow, and it will yield fruits rather than wasting away for lack of use. Finally, and most important of all, it is necessary to spread the word. It is necessary to spread the word. I'm a little bit disappointed that we did not have 100 people coming to this function. If this was some other function, we would have had a full house. I'm just saying, it is important to spread word. We need to make reading a priority in this country. As much as we affiliate to other things, reading should become a priority. It should become a national concern. This place should literally fill up to the brims. It should overflow because people should become interested in reading. It's everybody's responsibility. We must encourage people to read. Once people develop a reading habit, they will pass it on to the next generation, and the next generation will demand for books, and it will grow, and the citizens of Namibia will be able to realize their ambition of becoming a knowledge-based society. Thank you for your kind attention.
Afternoon, brothers and sisters. Thank you for the professor who was here. It was really good to hear that. Before I start, I thought only, generally speaking, people are saying, well, if you want to hide something from Africans, write it. Then you will not see it. Traditionally, we oral stories, but write it. Then he will say, where did you hear it? No, I read it. Oh. Take that serious. If I am traveling from here to Dubai, even with 30 Africans who are Namibians from here, you can fly all those hours. They are either sleeping or just talking. No one is reading something. There's no culture of reading. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mene Aino. Kitos. Just to say something very shortly. I am a theologian by profession, but my hobby is singing. I like singing. But my age is also coming to an end. I will not live forever. Then people used to say, well, Tate, you are singing you have a very nice voice. I say, well, okay, yes. But when the time comes, that are no more there, you can tell others that, well, this man in this coffin, he was a singer. A very nice way, nice voice. But show us then how he was singing, I think. What does it help? So I was encouraged then to make, to leave something behind. You see, singing is a very nice thing. You are sorrow, you want to be happy. There are some hymns which can do that for you. Singing is why I like singing. It's also proclamation, the hymns. They are sermons, some of them. It's why I like singing. These hymns, most of them are coming from a Hangano, the church hymn book. But they are more modernized by Johann Sebastian Bach. You see, when we are singing, for example, Congela onger kioye, o hamba Jesus etizoye. Then it's harmonized in this way. Congela onger kioye, o hamba I see you are laughing. Let me give another example. For example, Galungati kuhambelele, bombandambanda. Not so too, but harmonized. Is not for singing in the church service. Those harmonized. Some of them can be seen. Galunga tikuhambelele, bombandambanda tiku imbile. You take these hymns to another level. Yeah, that people and say, yes, I was on Sunday, I was in church on Sunday, I heard this already, so what then? You take it to the other level. It's why then, well, I used to listen also to hymns composed by Namibians. I have no problem, I enjoyed it. But I used to listen also to those music composed by others, especially in this 18th century, 17th century. They are very beautiful. They are very beautiful. Their words are more strong. Today, I was discussing with a gentleman. They composed, not really composed, they formed a hymn, but the words are like this, that Konkondo de itatuvuro kusindomuinai. Can you translate that? By his power, we cannot defeat the enemy. They say, oh, my goodness. How can you put those words together? Either this power, who is there? He must be Satan. Satan, because by his power we cannot defeat the enemy. Who is that? So there is no proclamation of that kind. So we have also to choose words, how to formulate our message. These hymns, some of them are not directly from a Hangano, because I used a hymn in 1800, printed in 1892. It's not ago, is it? 1892. Another one, 1924. It's different now from Handano, of course. And then the last one, 1945. Anyway, before we were born. Then the last one. Is why these hymns are really original. Most of them, of course, are German background. They have a German background, but translated. So to put it in that level, not really to say those in Handano they are not worthwhile, but only to have a different. Because if you listen to the Handano, you say, "Wow, yes, I was even singing it yesterday." But if you use other words, other formulation, then it's important. Then people will listen. So. I'm in this CD. I'm the vocalist, but there is also an organist, and there is also the one who recorder. So we were three. It's not an easy thing. And then I was also, unfortunately, because I have to sing these hymns. I think there are 9 in one day. It's not so easy at this age. Anyway, you have to breathe and so on. So it's not so easy. Breathing at this age is not so easy. So thank you very much. I think I was also told to give a vote of thanks to you all for your presence. You really sacrifice nearly your morning and afternoon. And Saturday is always busy. We wanted to maybe to see soccer or tennis, etc. And to relax a little bit, but you are here. May God bless you. Thank you.
I am part of the Namibia Book Fair, and I just want to use this opportunity to thank everyone for coming, being here with us. Like the bishop said, it's not easy to give up your Saturday. I think I would have been home cooking up a storm. And I just shared with my colleague Helvi now that, I'm going to cook. I don't think I have a lot of energy to cook up that storm that I planned to, but I'll try my best. But on that note, thank you so much to everyone that has shared something, so much wisdom. Everyone had a unique story to share, and that is what we want.